What's up, my people? This is Christopher Michael Jones, aka Chris Large, and I have my main man, my best friend, the genius writer, MC, lyricist, Craig Williams, aka Clean Cut. And we're here to talk about the next song that we worked together on, and that would be Still Can't Stop the Rain, featuring Shaquille O'Neal and the Notorious B.I.G. And we just want to share a little bit of history with regard to how that song came together, starting with Clean Cut already being in Orlando. You were working on creating some concepts with Shaq for his upcoming album, and you gave me a call while I was working on a remix with M.O.P., D-Nice, and Pudgy the Fat Bastard. If you can kind of talk us through what you were doing with Shaq, the phone call, and how we ended up coming together in Orlando, Florida.
Shaq was working on a movie called Kazam, and he was putting together some music around that. So he was trying to work through what those songs would be, and one of them, I think the directors or somebody wanted him to do something with Janet Jackson. So they were trying to work out all the logistics of getting Janet and how all of that was going to happen. So I was out there helping with him with that, and we went to McDonald's one day, and we're sitting in his car eating a number one, but I had a tape in my possession of a beat that Chris Large did, and I said that if he heard this, he's going to want this beat. So while he's sitting there eating and we're talking, I put the tape in the cassette deck. That's how far I'm going back. Still had tapes in the cassette deck. I put the tape in and it started playing. He's like, "What is that?" Now I had already, the hook was already on there.
Right.
You Can't Stop the Rain.
Right.
So he's listening to it and he's like, "What is this? Who did it? Who is this for?" I was like, "It's for you if you want it." He said, "Who did the beat?" I said, "My man Chris did it, Chris Large." He's like, "Chris?" I said, "Yeah, because he knew you from, hearing about you from Frank and Hassan."
Right.
And so he said, how soon can we get him down here? I think you came on the next play, whatever the next thing smoking was. And at the same time, he already knew that he wanted to do a song with B.I.G.
Correct.
But I don't think he knew what it should be.
Right, that's
but
right.
when he heard that,
Right.
he was like, "This needs to be that song."
Right.
So simultaneously, we're trying to get Chris down to Florida, and now we're trying to get B.I.G. down. And that was a little bit more difficult because B.I.G. didn't want to fly on a prop plane.
Right.
And so finally, everybody got down there, and it was just one of those. I think, Shaq has been doing some talking about what that experience was like, and I can agree with him wholeheartedly. It's one of the experiences when you get a chance to watch a prodigy, somebody that was born to do something, work and do what it is that they do, and you know that you're watching something very special.
Yeah.
And that's how we felt at that moment. We didn't know exactly how it was going to turn out.
Right.
Because at the time we did not know that Biggie Smalls didn't write his lyrics on paper.
Right.
And so I think Chris you gave him.
Right. I'm gonna jump in here.
Right.
So I get the call from my man Craig, and he says to me, "You can't believe it, but Shaq just heard the beat, and he wants you to come down right away." And so I was in Platinum Island's recording studio, their original location, and I jump on the plane. I'm in Orlando, Florida. I remember it's hot, so I had to buy a bunch of new clothes to fit the climate in Orlando. And what's ironic is that I had submitted that beat to Biggie already for his second album. I gave the demo to D-Rock, and D-Rock, you never got the song to Biggie. And as God would have it, Biggie hears the song while we're getting into the limo together on our way from the airport to Shaq's house. Now, for those of you who don't know, at that time, Shaq had a fleet of limos, and he had a Superman emblem on the grill of each limo. And in the grill, there was an infrared light. So as we approached Shaq's house, the infrared beam came on, and the Superman emblem on the gate outside of his mansion opened up. And the whole caravan of limos, we pull up onto Shaq's estate, and he has this state-of-the-art custom-built studio right on the premises, and we're getting ready to get to work. So we get into Shaq's studio, and Big is sitting on the console. I'm sitting right next to him. Little C's and everybody else, they're rolling dice. We having a good time. Shaq has a chef. They cooking up food, and we're all waiting for this moment to happen where Shaq and Big could come together to do this monumental song. Now, for those of you who don't know, there was a lot of happening behind the scenes at this time. Starting with Shaq was in the middle of a negotiation with the Orlando Magic, and he was unhappy with the offer that they were presenting to him at the time. He was really troubled by that. At the same time, Hit 'Em Up just started circulating within the industry. We hadn't heard the song on the radio yet, but for those of us who had access, we started to hear Hit 'Em Up, and everybody's trying to figure out what will be Biggie's response to Hit 'Em Up. It just so happened that Biggie had just finished a session with Jay-Z and DJ Clark Kent, and they had the record Brooklyn's Finest. And that's where we hear Biggie talk about two Pacs, right? And so we're sitting in the console in the studio of Shaq. We're trying to figure out what is Biggie going to say. And lo and behold, Biggie says what he says. And the song was a coronation of sorts. One, because Shaq basically was saying to the Orlando Magic, you can't stop my reign. You can't impede my trajectory in history. I'm going to be the Hall of Famer that God has called me to be. Biggie is saying to the haters of that day, you can't stop my reign. I'm the king of New York. And also, I was in the middle of transitioning from one group of managers to another. So in a sense, through the art form of music, I was also saying to those who were impeding or diminishing my worth, you can't stop my reign. And it all came together on this classic song, which actually records Biggie's second response, historically speaking, to Tupac's Hit 'Em Up. The next song that you're about to hear is Still Can't Stop the Rain. It's a classic. I hope that you enjoy it. Biggie, Shaq, clean cut, a great time in history. Check it out.